Some houses do not just shelter people. They feed on them. Some landlords do not just expect rent. They expect obedience, fear, loyalty, and sacrifice. And sometimes, when the house is too cheap. When the landlady smiles too much. When the tenants look too quiet. When the compound feels too clean. It is not because the place is peaceful. It is because the people inside are dying slowly and silently. David did not know that. He thought he had found a blessing. A comfortable house at a price so low it felt like a gift. But gifts from the wrong hands can cost more than gold. They can cost your mind, your voice, your peace, and even your soul. This is the story of a house where the rent you pay is not always money. Welcome to Nightfall Tales by Wura, where every story is a lesson wrapped inside suspense. David stood in front of the compound gate with his small Ghana must-go bag, sweating under the hot afternoon sun. He had just gotten a new teaching job in the city and needed a place fast. When the agent told him about a clean house with cheap rent and a lovely landlady, he didn't hesitate. But from the moment he touched the gate, he felt something strange, as if the metal was warmer than the sun itself, as if it had been touched by too many scared hands. The compound was quiet. Too quiet for a house with 8 flats. No children crying. No babies laughing. No music. No chit-chat. Nothing. Just silence. Then the door to the first flat opened slowly, and a woman stepped out. Thin. Dark. Scared. She looked at David like he was a new chicken entering a slaughterhouse. "You're the new tenant?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Yes, Ma," David smiled politely. She swallowed hard. "Welcome, Anne. God help you." Before David could ask what she meant, a small bell rang from inside the compound. Ting. Ting. Every tenant froze. Full stop. As if the sound carried power. Then she appeared. Mama Kemi. The landlady. A short, elderly woman wrapped in a clean white wrapper, with tiny beads around her wrist that jingled as she walked. She smiled at David, a wide, beautiful smile that didn't match her cold eyes. "Ah! My new son," she spread her arms warmly. "Welcome home. This house loves quiet, obedient people." David felt her cold hand on his back as she guided him in. The tenants all watched him like someone entering a coffin willingly. Inside, his new room was spotless. Almost too perfect. Bed already arranged. Curtains already hanging. Even the bulb was new. He felt lucky. But that night, exactly at 12:13 a.m., David heard a whisper behind his door. "Beg properly." He sat up immediately. Another whisper. Closer. "Say please, say sorry, or it won't stop." David's heart raced. "Hello? Who is there?" Silence. A heavy silence. As if the house was listening. Morning came with confusion. David stepped outside to greet the tenants, but they all avoided eye contact. They moved quietly, like people under a spell. He saw something odd. Every tenant swept their front yard in the exact same direction, from right to left. No one crossed the middle of the compound. No one spoke loudly. He approached the thin woman from yesterday. Her name was Saad. "Good morning, Saad," he said with a smile. She looked around nervously before whispering. "Please, don't call me loudly. Don't stand close to my door. And don't ever bang your door." "Why?" David asked. Her eyes filled with fear. "You're new. You don't understand yet." She looked around again before slowly lifting her bucket and leaving quickly. David returned to his room, confused. He drank water, washed his face, then opened his cabinet. And froze. A small note was taped inside. Yellow, old, and torn. It read, "Rule 1, do not shut your door too fast. Rule 2, do not refuse Mama Kemi anything she asks from you. Rule 3, never say no 3 times in this house. Rule 4, always greet the well. David frowned. What kind of nonsense is this? He removed the note and threw it on the table. But that afternoon, the compound became noisy. Tenants gathered near the backyard, whispering and shaking. A man named Cunnell, a tenant from Flat 6, had disappeared. He was last seen the previous night. According to the others, he broke a rule. He slammed his door too hard. Someone pointed to the well at the back of the compound. On the sand beside it, fresh footprints appeared, leading towards the well. But no footprints coming back. David felt cold. What is in that well? Nobody answered. Instead, everyone slowly bowed their heads toward the old well and greeted it. Good afternoon. David's heart dropped. This was no ordinary house. And he had already broken Rule 1 that morning. He slammed his door without knowing. That night, a soft knock came at David's door. Not a normal knock, but one that echoed inside his chest. Knock, knock, knock. He opened the door slowly. It was Saad. Her face was pale. Her lips were trembling. You broke Rule 1, she whispered. I didn't know. Shoo. Don't say no too many times, she grabbed his hand. Listen to me carefully. Mama Kemi doesn't survive on money alone. David swallowed hard. Then what does she want? Saad looked around again. Her voice dropped lower. She takes your fear, your voice, your confidence, anything she finds precious in you. David frowned. That's impossible. She's just an old woman. Saad shook her head slowly. She has lived here for more than 70 years, in the same body. David froze. What? She picks one tenant each year, Saad whispered, tears gathering. And the house helps her. The bulb above them flickered. The wind stopped blowing. Everything went still. Saad leaned closer. Cunnell didn't run away. The well called him. And now, it is watching you. David stepped back slowly. This is madness. Saad grabbed his wrist tightly. David, the rent you pay here is not money. Not really. It is something deeper. If she marks you, you are finished. A distant bell rang again. Ting, ting. Saada's eyes widened. She's calling someone. David felt his heart pounding. And then, a soft voice echoed from the backyard. David, my son, come. David's blood turned to ice. Mama Kemi was calling him. David's legs felt weak as Mama Kemi's voice floated through the night air, sweet and cold at the same time. David, my son, come. Saad squeezed his wrist harder. Don't answer her, she whispered. Whatever you do, don't go near that well tonight. But it was too late. The front doors of the other tenants opened one after another, slowly, quietly, like obedient children responding to a mother's call. Nobody spoke. Nobody looked at David. They just began walking toward the backyard, as if pulled by invisible strings. David felt his chest tighten. What's happening? Saad whispered, midnight offering. What does that mean? She licked her dry lips nervously. You'll see. Mama Kemi emerged from behind the water drum, holding a small clay pot. Her wrapper was still white, but now it looked whiter, almost glowing in the dark. Her eyes sparkled with a strange brightness. She smiled. Ah, my tenants, thank you for coming. The tenants bowed. Even the grown men. Mama, they chorused in shaky voices. She waved her beaded bracelet. Tonight, we honor the well. Let the house give peace, let the land receive what it needs. She lifted the clay pot. David leaned to Saad. What's inside it? Saada's voice broke. People's names. Before David could react, Mama Kemi opened the pot. Cold wind blew. The night shivered. The leaves on the mango tree near the well trembled even though there was no breeze. Mama Kemi dipped her hand inside. Her smile widened, stretching too far, almost unnatural. "One person will bless the house tonight," she announced. "One person will make this place peaceful again." David's heartbeat doubled. The tenants shut their eyes. Mama Kemi swirled her hand inside the pot like someone stirring soup. Then she whispered, "David." David froze completely. Saad gasped loudly, a sound she quickly covered with her hand. David stepped backward. "Mama. I don't understand." She raised her finger. My son, don't say no again. You have already said it twice tonight. One more no, and the house will finish you before morning." David clamped his mouth shut as fear crawled across his spine. Mama Kemi approached him slowly, one step at a time, eyes shining, beads jingling. "You broke the rule," she said softly. "You slammed your door. The house needs payment." She touched his chest. The spot burned like fire. "Tonight," she whispered, "you will bless the well." The tenants lowered their heads. Saad shook violently. The well made a low, rumbling sound, as if something inside it had just woken up. David whispered, "What does the well want from me?" Mama Kemi answered with a smile that chilled him to the bone. "It wants something you cannot buy with money." David barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Mama Kemi smile. The well's darkness. The shadows circling behind the tenants. By morning, his room felt smaller, like it was watching him. He rushed outside for fresh air, but the compound was still quiet. The tenants swept again, moving in the same strange rhythm. Saad approached him carefully. "You need to leave this house," she whispered. "Tonight if possible." David swallowed hard. "Where will I go? I just paid my rent." Saad shook her head. "The sooner you understand the title of this house, the better." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Saad looked him straight in the eyes. "The rent you pay here is not always money." David's body went cold. Before he could respond, the gate creaked open. A man stood there. Tattered shirt. Dusty slippers. Eyes full of fear. He looked like someone who had run for miles. The tenants dropped their brooms immediately. Whispers filled the air. Saad froze. "Oh my God, that's Tund." "Tund?" David asked. "Who is he?" "He used to live here," she whispered. "He's the only tenant who ever escaped." But the shocking part was not his tired face. Or his shaky steps. Or his trembling hands. The shocking part was that Tund could not speak. The moment he opened his mouth to talk, nothing came out. Not a word. Not even a whisper. His voice was gone. Completely. He pointed at David with desperation in his eyes, shaking his head vigorously, trying to warn him. Mama Kemi appeared from her window, her voice soft and sweet as syrup. "Ah, Tund my dear, you came to visit? That is so sweet." Tund staggered backward instantly, fear washing over his face. He pointed again at David, then at the well, then at his own throat, begging him to understand. David felt his stomach twist. "What happened to him?" he whispered. Saad leaned close and muttered. "He refused Mama Kemi's request 3 times. He said no one time too many." "Then what did she do?" Saad swallowed painfully. "She took the thing he valued most." David stared at Tund. "His voice?" "Yes," she whispered. "He used to be a gospel singer. His voice was his life. Mama Kemi took it, and left him empty." Tund pulled out a small piece of paper from his pocket. His hands shook so much that the paper almost slipped away. He pressed it into David's hand. Then he ran out of the compound. As if running for his life again. David unfolded the paper. Shaky handwriting. Just 2 words. Leave now. That evening, Mama Kemi suddenly became very kind. Too kind. Suspiciously kind. She brought David a big bowl of pepper soup. She bought him a new bulb for his bathroom. She even paid his long-distance cab fare to school. Every good act made Saad more terrified. This is not kindness, she whispered shakily. This is how she marks someone for harvest. David shook his head. This is nonsense. She's just an old woman. Saad grabbed his hand sharply. Stop thinking with your eyes. Think with your spirit. David sighed. You want me to believe a well eats people? She held his shirt. I want you to live. Before David could respond, the bell rang. Ting. Ting. Everyone froze. Mama Kemi stepped out, carrying a small calabash filled with palm oil. Her white wrapper glowed like moonlight. David, she called sweetly. My son, come. David's feet refused to move. Fear glued him to the ground. Please, Saad whispered. Don't follow her. But Mama Kemi waved her hand gently, and David felt something tug him forward. A pull. A force. A command he couldn't resist. He took 1 step. Then another. Toward the backyard. Toward the well. Toward the darkness. Mama Kemi smiled deeply. Tonight, she whispered, handing him the calabash. You will give the house a gift. Then you will belong to me forever. David's heart pounded. What gift? Her eyes locked onto his soul. The kind of rent money cannot buy. The wind stopped. The night held its breath. And the well began to rumble again. Like something inside it was waking up to receive him. The moment David stepped closer to the well, he felt it, the house was alive. Not in the way old houses creak or settle, but alive in a dark, hungry way. The walls seemed to breathe. The windows watched him like eyes. The floorboards whispered under his feet. He held the calabash tightly. Palm oil swirled inside, thick and red in the moonlight. Mama Kemi's eyes glowed. Give it to the house, she commanded softly. Or it will take more than you think. David felt a shiver crawl up his spine. He glanced at Saad, who was trembling behind a tree. You don't have to, she whispered. But if you refuse, it will come for you, like it did to Tund. He lifted the calabash over the well and paused. The wind stopped. The air thickened. A low moan echoed from inside the well. A shadow moved in its depths, a shape that looked like a person, but not. Something dark, shapeless, writhing. The house groaned. The floors rattled. David froze. He couldn't move. He couldn't think. And then the whispers started. Your soul, your voice, your courage, give it, give it, give it. The shadow in the well stretched upwards. It wanted him. It wanted something from him. David dropped to his knees. No. I won't. Mama Kemi smiled wider, teeth glinting in the moonlight. You already will. You don't even know it yet. A sudden hand grabbed his shoulder. Saad. Run. Run now, she yelled. David turned to escape, but the yard had changed. Paths were gone. The door to the compound vanished. Even the shadows seemed alive, forming walls, pushing him back toward the well. He realized then. This house didn't just own Mama Kemi. It owned everything inside. David fell to the ground, heart hammering. Mama Kemi approached, her wrapper glowing like moonlight. Tonight, she said softly, you have a choice. Give the house what it wants, or it will take it anyway. But this way, you have some say in how it leaves you. What do you mean? David gasped. The house needs a soul, she said, whispering close enough for him to feel her breath. Someone's fear, someone's regret, someone's life, can satisfy it for another year. David shook violently. I can't. I can't give you anything. Mama Kemi tilted her head. Ah, but you already have. Every heartbeat you spent fearing me, every second you thought you were safe, every silent prayer you whispered in the night, that is payment. David's hands shook. The shadows in the well grew taller, twisting like ropes of darkness. You see, Mama Kemi continued, this is the rent you pay here. It is not money. It is, you. Saad screamed from behind. David! Think! You are stronger than she thinks. David looked into the well. The shadow stretched one final time, reaching for him. He realized the truth. The house wanted fear more than anything else. So he did the only thing he could. He faced it. He whispered with trembling lips. I am not afraid. The shadow froze. Mama Kemi's smile faltered slightly. The wind howled like 100 voices screaming. David kept saying it. I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I am not afraid. The shadow recoiled, shrank, then sank silently into the well. The night went silent. Mama Kemi's glow faded. Her beads stopped gingling. Her smile was gone. For the first time, she looked like an old, frail woman. The next morning, David woke to find the compound alive, but different. The tenants moved normally, smiling faintly, not afraid. But Mama Kemi was furious. Her eyes had dark fire in them. This is not over, she whispered under her breath. David approached Saad. We survived, he asked. She nodded. Only because you faced the house. Most cannot. But as he stepped outside, he realized the war wasn't just with Mama Kemi, it was with the house itself. Doors slammed shut by themselves. Windows rattled. Footsteps echoed in empty hallways. The remaining tenants began gathering. They were tired, scared, but they were alive. We have to fight, whispered one of them. Together, we can end this. David understood then. Mama Kemi was powerful, yes. But the house was stronger. The house had rules, but the tenants could break them if they had courage. That night, the tenants confronted Mama Kemi. She laughed, high and sharp, a sound that pierced their hearts. You dare defy me? Yes, David said, stepping forward. We will not live in fear anymore. The rent we pay is not yours to take. The well rumbled again. Shadows rose. Beads jingled. But David stood firm. And for the first time in 70 years, the house hesitated. It waited. And David realized, sometimes courage is the only payment that matters. Night came faster than usual, like the sky was afraid to stay bright. The moon hid behind the clouds. The air carried a heavy warning. The house knew something was changing. And Mama Kemi could feel it too. She stood by the well with her arms folded across her chest, her white wrapper fluttering even though there was no breeze. Her beads jingled softly, but they no longer glowed. Her eyes had lost that cruel shine, replaced now with something deeper. Fear. Not fear of the tenants. Not fear of David. But fear of losing the one thing that had kept her powerful for 70 years. The house. The well. The darkness she fed. One by one, the tenants stepped into the yard. No sweeping. No bowing. No silence. Tonight, they came as people. Not prisoners. Not sacrifices. Not sources of rent. Saad took David's hand. You started this, she whispered. You will finish it. David swallowed hard. I'm scared. She squeezed his fingers. Everyone is scared. But you taught us something, fear doesn't have to rule us. The tenants gathered behind them. Even the children came out, holding their mothers' wrappers tightly. Mama Kemi slowly turned around. So, you people have finally lost your minds, she said softly. Her voice, once sweet, was now cracked. Old. Weak. David stepped forward. We are not afraid anymore. Mama Kemi laughed. A cold, hollow laugh that echoed into the well. You think fear is the only thing I take? I take strength. I take hope. I take memories. She lifted her hand. A sudden wind exploded through the compound, violent, sharp, filled with whispers. Doors slammed. Windows burst open. The ground trembled. The tenants staggered backward. The well rumbled. Darkness rose from its mouth like smoke twisting into the air. The shadow rose again, big, shapeless, hungry. It stretched toward the tenants. Screams filled the night. But David did not move. He stood in front of the shadow, chest rising and falling, fear burning through him, but courage standing stronger. He yelled, "Stop!" The shadow froze. Mama Kemi's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" she screamed. David stepped closer to the well. His voice was shaking, but he forced the words out. You feed on fear. You take from people who are broken. You use silence, you use darkness, and you use lies. But tonight, you get nothing. Not from me. Not from anyone. The tenants gathered behind him. One by one, they raised their voices, something they had not done in years. We are not afraid. We will not bow again. No more fear. We want our lives back. The well roared. The shadow twisted violently, as if in pain. The ground cracked around it. Mama Kemi screamed louder, her voice echoing like 1,000 cries. Stop. He belongs to me. They all belong to me. This house belongs to me. David shouted back. No. We belong to ourselves. He grabbed the calabash still lying near the well and smashed it on the ground. The red oil spilled like blood. The earth shook. The well cracked open wider. A scream rose from deep inside, a scream older than Mama Kemi herself. Then. Light. A bright, fierce, warm light shot up from the well, exploding into the night sky like a pillar of fire. The shadow shrieked, tore apart, and dissolved into nothing. Mama Kemi clutched her chest, stumbling backward. Her beads fell off her wrist. She gasped for air. Her voice cracked. No, no, not after 70 years, please. I need it. I need one more year. But the well was silent. Her power was gone. The landlady collapsed to the ground, crying like a terrified child, as the house groaned one final time and then went silent. The tenants stood perfectly still. Then slowly. For the first time in years. The compound breathed. The wind returned. Birds chirped. The air became normal again. Sod wiped her tears and hugged David tightly. You freed us, she whispered. You broke something none of us had the strength to face. David looked around the compound, the peeling paint, the cracked windows, the carvings on the well that were now fading. This was never a home, he whispered. It was a prison. Sod took his hand gently. So what now? David looked at the tenants, their tired faces, their hopeful eyes. Now, he said softly. We leave, and we never enter a strange house blindly again. One by one, the tenants packed. Nobody looked back. Nobody said goodbye to the house. The compound that once trapped souls now stood empty, powerless, abandoned. As David stepped outside the gate, sunlight touched his face. He felt free. Finally free. And in that moment, he understood the lesson. A lesson he carried with him for life. Before you rent a house, check the price. Check the location. Check the landlord. Check the rules. Check everything. Because sometimes, the rent you pay is not always money. Sometimes, the price is your soul. David walked away with the other tenants. Leaving behind the house that had fed on fear for 70 years. The house that almost took him. the house that taught him. And the world. A lesson no owe. In the end, what happened in Madam Beatrice's compound was more than a tragedy. It was a reminder, a bitter one, that evil does not always hide in the darkness. Sometimes, it smiles at you during inspection, offers you cold water on your first visit, and hands you a rental agreement with hands that look clean, but are not. The tenants who lived under her roof paid rent with fear, with silence, with their peace of mind, and with pieces of their dignity, until life forced them to rise and walk away. But the truth is simple. A house is not a home if your soul cannot rest inside it. Walls can be painted white. Floors can shine. The compound can look perfect. But if the heart of the landlady is dark, the whole building becomes a prison. So before you rent a house, before you sign that paper, before you tell your family, we have found a place, look beyond the walls. Look beyond the smiles. Look beyond the cheap rent. Because sometimes, the rent you pay is not always money. And peace, your peace, is too expensive to lose.